Okay, welcome back. In this video, we're going to use a graph to find some values for an inverse function. In a later video, we're actually going to graph the inverse function, um, but yeah, that's basically what we're doing here. So, we have this nice function here. This blue line here is our function, okay? This other line, this y equals x line, is just extraneous. They put it on there because to get an inverse function, you reflect over this line, so that's why that's on there, but it's not actually part of the function, okay? So it's just this part that's the function, okay? This kind of, well, different line segments along this shape here. That's our function. Notice it is one-to-one. If you draw horizontal lines, they only touch once, so it is one-to-one. So it has an inverse. So let's go ahead and find some of these values. F inverse of 2. Okay. Now remember the inverse function switches x and y for the regular function. So this number in here is not the x value, it's actually the y value of the original function. So this is the y value, and then the number over here is going to be the x value, okay, from the original function. So that's y 2. I'm basically trying to figure out where does y equal 2 in this graph, okay? So if I look at my graph here, I go up 2 to y equals 2, and I look at what point has y equals 2, it's this point right there, the 1, 2 point, okay? And so the inverse function is going to take in this y value 2, and it's going to spit out the x value, which is 1. So f inverse of 2 would just be 1. Okay? Let's do a few more examples to make sure we got it. F inverse of 0, okay? That, again, we're looking at this number in here is the y value, and we're going to be getting out the x value for the original function, okay? So we look at, this is y is 0. We're trying to find a point with y equals 0. So y equals 0 is along the x-axis here. What point is along the x-axis? It's this guy right here. -1, 0 is where the graph has y equals 0, and so this x value is going to be our answer, -1. Okay. So remember, the thing that goes in the inverse is the y, and what pops out is the x. Okay? It kind of switches roles of x and y. Okay, we're going to do just one more real fast. Make sure we got it. F inverse of -1. -1, remember, is y, so we want to look for what point has a y value of -1. Well, y equals -1 is down here along this line right here, along that horizontal line. Okay, we want to figure out where does it touch. Well, it touches like right in there probably. It doesn't have a labeled point there, but that's about where y equals -1. Okay. And so, maybe I'll just draw this line in. Whoop. Yep. So y equals -1, and then we want the x value here. So if we draw it up, what's the x value there? It's not at a perfect number. It's like at -1 and maybe a half, -1.5, something like that. So we'll just estimate it. -1.5 is our answer there. Okay. And so, right, inverse function, this is the y, the thing that goes in is the y, and then the thing that pops out is the x for the original function, okay? Now typically with an inverse function, they'll still label this variable as x, but remember it is the y value of the original function, okay? Okay, hopefully that helps finding the some inverse values from a graph.